And I'm now happy to be joined by my good friend Steve Mayer, the president of NHL Content and Events. Steve, it's great to see you as always. I got to say, you guys must be just doing victory dances because the week you had with the NHL, the Four Nations face-off, it was a massive success.
Well, thank you, Todd. Yeah, we were really happy. This was a great event for the NHL. I mean, could I say that we expected success? Yes, but do we expect the level of success that we had? No. And you just watch the momentum build and build and build, and and it's nice when a whole country and all of North America is talking about your sport, your event. We take a lot of pride in what we do. And it turned out, as well as we could have expected, but we have to keep the momentum going as we head towards the end of our season. And then we've got playoffs coming up as well.
How long ago was this hatched? And is there anyone that you can give the credit to? Is there one brainchild? And if it was you, come on, take credit for it. But this was genius. You look back at it now, this was genius.
Yeah, no, listen, it was a combination of a lot of different factors. We knew that we're going to go to the Olympics again. And in 2026, we'll participate after a long hiatus from the Olympics. Right. And so what we all wanted to do was get our players acclimated again to international play. We hadn't also participated in an international event since 2016, the World Cup of Hockey. So, I think the generation of the idea sort of was hatched based on we should do something before the Olympics. And then, given the politics of the world and given some of the teams that we thought, couldn't be in this event, we said, let's just do something a little bit smaller. And that's where we came up with the concept of Four Nations. No individual was responsible for the idea. It really was a combination between the NHL and the NHLPA. When we work on these international events, we work on those together. And then, my memory is so foggy as to who came up with the name, and a lot of the rules were a combination of a lot of folks. It was really a team effort. And it's kind of fitting because, in hockey, that's all we talk about is team over individual. But in this one, it truly was, and then we watched how it just took off. Like, I think we realized a few weeks out that the players were going to be really into this. Yeah. Like, this was a big event for the players. And that kind of got us all psyched to know that, like, we might have something here. And obviously we did have something here.
I think it was key in what you talk about with the players buying in, and not to make comparisons or contrasts, but right now the NBA's All-Star their All-Star game and format is just abysmal. No one likes it. It's not buying it. The players aren't buying into it. And I think PK Subban, who might be one of the best spokespersons for the NHL right now, he talks about the passion. Are you hurt or are you injured? If you're hurt, you're going to play. And when you put that sweater on, you're going to play for your nation. And it just, to me, I just, again, just slathering on the praise, but you guys did everything right. Having Wayne Gretzky and Mike Eruzione come out was genius. Having Eruzione with the Johnny Gaudreau sweater, genius. Having you didn't script this part, but having the Americans win in Montreal and then have Canada come back and win in Boston in overtime with the greatest player on the planet right now, getting the winner. You can't script it any better than this. It was sensational.
By the way, thank you for saying that we couldn't script it, because obviously we don't script it.
Other than those fights that started 9 seconds.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm not gonna comment on any other league. I will say that there were a lot of factors that led to this being as successful as it was. And the gameplay ended up being tremendous. To your point about the 3 fights in 9 seconds, that got a buzz. Mario Lemieux on opening night, everybody was talking about that in the building. I would tell you, being in that building, it was shaking. And there are things that, yes, we can script, manufacture to just add to the bigness of the event. But in the end of the day, the quality of play, our guys go hard. It's really about the NHL. Like, the NHL mentality is, whether it's a game that is being played during the regular season, or a game that where you've got on your chest USA or Canada or Sweden or Finland, you're gonna go hard. And our guys just did that. And the timing worked to, based on what else was being like out there during our tournament. So all these factors just led to another. PK is wonderful. He's out there, and we have a lot of people who have become our voice, but this one spoke for itself. Like
Yeah.
I think what we saw were people who came up to us who said, I've never watched hockey before, but
Right.
this is awesome. And in the end of the day, my dream, my goal is always to bring in new fans and to grow the sport. And when you start to see that happening, you got to seize on that. And I just think so many factors led to this one being as successful as it was. And I just hope it translates into the regular season and the run that teams are going to have going to the playoffs. And we have a big record that could be broken soon. And Alexander Ovechkin going
Yeah.
for the all-time goal record, which I do think is also going to get tons and tons of attention. So this is all kind of working out, and no one's complaining over at the NHL.
To your point, Alexander Ovechkin, I think the story, what's amazing about him is he breaks his leg in the season, comes back and I've got a brother-in-law who's an orthopedic surgeon. There's no way he'd recommend this. And he comes back, and now he's back on pace. We're chatting with Steve Mayer, the president of the NHL Content and Events. Steve, I want to get to momentum, because right now the NHL is like the it girl that just came to the high school, and everyone wants to date her because you have the momentum coming off the Four Nations. You've got celebrities like Charles Barkley that can't get enough hockey that are singing the praises. You guys have the big event in Columbus, Ohio, the outdoor event at Buckeye Stadium, 80,000 people. And then as you look forward, I know you're always planning ahead, the Olympics in less than a year, and then you have the World Championships, a year or two after that. So I just think, personally, I mean, I'll be covering snowboarding at the Olympics next year, but I wonder if hockey is going to be the most watched thing at the Olympics come February.
Yeah, I think our friends at the Olympic Games are pretty happy because what this no question did was set up what will be one amazing Olympic event. And I think our players are just going to be counting down the days to the Olympics because everything that happened, and I know it was only 4 teams, but it did set the table really well. I mean, if we get another USA Canada game in the Olympics, I mean, you think the television ratings were impressive this year? Just wait, it will be incredible. So. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I know you personally, and I know you're always tweaking and looking to make it better, all that stuff. So the question I get from all my friends who are big hockey fans and that aren't hockey fans is, what are they going to do next? Tell me they're bringing this back, and tell me they're going to add Norway and maybe Russia. I know there's some geopolitical issues, but like Germany and Austria and Switzerland, they could certainly add something. Are you getting guys saying, hey, I want in on this too?
Yeah, I do think moving forward, and the World Cup of Hockey, which we did announce will take place in 2028, it will have many more teams than 4. And obviously politics in the world could be different, and we'll adjust on the fly depending on, what is going on in that world. But, this is exciting. It's now obviously becoming a part of what we're doing. And listen, every sport, not just the NHL, but every sport has to look at the all-star game. This was not an all-star game, Todd. So I want to be clear. This was an international event that we decided to put on. This was not our all-star game. But I do think, based on every league and the conversations that are out there on all-star, we all are probably going to take a very hard look on that format moving forward. And that's one of the first things we're talking about at the league. What are we going to do next year? Because we've already announced that we will have an all-star event at UBS. And I'll be the first one to admit, conversations need to take place. We'd be ignorant if we didn't feel like we had to take a hard, close look at how we're going to approach that before we go to the Olympic Games. But I think we're going to come up with something special. We're gonna do something that highlights our players. I mean, I love the fact that Matthew Kachuk last night was in the United States on Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Like that's another level for us. And these are the kind of requests we're getting now. I liked your analogy of the it girl. And having never dated an it girl, I'm really not
Stop.
sure what that is, but I have a feeling that it's pretty good. And so, we'll take it and we'll ride the wave as long as we can. We're enjoying it, but by no means are we going to rest on our laurels.
Couple questions before we let you go. I got to say, from top to bottom, as I've mentioned before, it was just done so well. It was just every T was crossed, every I dotted, all the way down to the sweaters. I had friends saying, I want to get a hold of one of those sweaters. I go, you want to get an American one? He goes, no. He goes, I like the Finland one, Suomi, whatever. I like the three crowns from Sweden. Whoever did the merchandising on these, the jerseys, the apparel, was also well done.
So listen, that whether it was 30 years ago when we were working together or last week when we're working together, one of the keys to anybody's success is to surround yourself with the best teams and put people in places where they can thrive and survive. And I have a great team
Yeah.
in every aspect, and I really appreciate it when somebody says that the I's were dotted,
Yeah.
the T's were crossed, because we take a lot of pride in getting things done the right way and working with some really good people who put on big events and love doing it. And we really believe that at the NHL we're among the best at it. And that event was exciting. I have to admit, once we saw the buzz and once it started to build, we've went further in and further in and further in. Like, not a lot of that stuff wasn't planned, but we knew that this was our showcase to the world.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that people were going to watch us who hadn't watched us. So what could we do to really catch their eye and go, whoa, the NHL, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, those are the kind of things we focus on, whether we're doing a tournament like Four Nations or an outdoor game, uh, anything. Like, we just say, how do we make it bigger and better? And how do we take the smallest idea and put it on steroids in some way and just try to make it feel like this is important. And again, we're going to keep going. We got a lot coming up. It never stops. The myth of a league having an off season, those days are done. But we love what we do. We always have. We come at it with enthusiasm.
Be honest with me now. Tell me you haven't gotten multiple calls from Adam Silver and Rob Manfred, the commissioners, respectively, of the NBA and the MLB, saying, how did you do that? Show us how you did that.
No, but I will say, I'm sure that all leagues have taken notice. We all
Yeah.
listen. We all look at each other most of the time with great admiration. Each league does some amazing work. We all copy each other to an
Yeah.
extent. It's flattering when NBA does something that we did, or MLB does something that we did, and but I would think, based on the success, and listen, it's unusual success. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Like, we had record ratings and people
Perfect
talking
storm.
about the NHL. So I do think there's no question there's conversations within their buildings about the event, and we find that flattering.
Talk about John Cooper, the head coach of Canada, in some of his comments about this is the greatest thing that's happened to hockey in a decade. And during those early fights with the Kachucks, he goes, I wasn't even watching the ice. I was looking at the fans' reaction. Is he speaking in hyperbole, or was he pretty much spot on?
Yeah, no. What I love about him and what makes him also a great coach is just he speaks his mind. He is as raw and honest as it gets. And you mentioned PK Subban being an incredible spokesperson for the
Yeah.
NHL. John Cooper is just that.
Yeah.
He's quite the coach, but he's also somebody who gets it and who wants the league to grow. Like, who will get out there and put himself out there. And we love him. And believe me, I saw his comments and I talked to him throughout the entire tournament, he'll make a suggestion or two that are really amazing. And so, he's great for our sport, and he's really a good guy. So, and there was so many more people. Like, everybody said the right things because it felt right. It felt
Right.
good, and the whole way through, no one knew who was going to win in the end. And let's face it, we went to overtime, and the United States had many chances to win in
Oh,
that overtime.
Jordan Bennington, MVP. I don't know how he stopped some of those Austin Matthews shots.
Yeah, so it could have been any result. It
Yeah.
really could. And the first game of the tournament, Canada beat Sweden
Yeah.
in overtime. If Sweden beats Canada, it could have been a
There's
whole
not
different
a
tournament. Listen, in any sport, you never know. That's why they play the game. That's why we all love sports so much. It just worked out so well along the way. A lot of, as I said, factors that led to the success, but we'll take it. I'm not going to argue with it. We'll take it.
Well, massive tip of the cap to you, my friend. Before I let you go, I don't think it's going to be too long before you see a Beyonce, Jay-Z, Post Malone, Tom Cruise wearing their favorite NHL jersey, because that's usually the sign that you've really arrived. But can I just get one last shot in from my hometown Utah Hockey Club? How much do I
Yeah.
want them to stay with that name, Utah Hockey Club, and just don't need a mascot? Use the Yeti as the mascot, but Utah Hockey Club, I think that is so cool. And they are so close to making a playoff spot. That would be massive.
Yeah. No, the work that's been done in Utah, like, talk about massive, to get ready an
Yeah.
entire franchise in months, and to be as successful as they have been. I think everybody knew that Utah would take well to
Hmm.
hockey. And I think they have, and it would be great if they made the playoffs. And as far as the name goes, listen, what I appreciate is, we needed to get out there as quickly as we could, and they certainly understood that they wanted the fans to have a voice, and they just felt like, let's just get ready, get the season underway, and then we'll give the fans that voice.
Right.
And that's the process that's happening now. How it ends up, we'll find out soon. But I just think that they've done a great job, and they may make the playoffs, which is really exciting.
That's awesome. We've been chatting with Steve Mayer, the president of NHL content and events. Steve, thanks for joining us here on This Sporting Planet. You are awesome. It's so good to see you. Shout out to Tim Kowalski and Kiki, and hope we cross paths again soon.
For your audience, we're not even going to go into explaining that, but it is a pleasure, a real pleasure, actually being on a show with you. This was fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
That was great. That was so good.